What do you think some of the challenges that talent might face while looking for a remote job?
Yeah, sure. That's a really great question. So, working remotely is not identical to working in person. I know that many of us screen for folks who can be very collaborative in a deliberate way. That old saying, this meeting could have been an email. That is not
Yes.
something that people are interested in a remote sphere. People are starting, it's almost gone back in time, old fashioned in terms of how well written is your email to the hiring manager? We want to know that you're a good communicator. So a lot of these kinds of things are kind of taking more precedence. And then also you have to think a lot of these jobs, particularly globally distributed ones, are prize a lot of asynchronicity, which is its own set of skills. So the career coach in me, if you are interested, please do not assume all remote work is the same. Do your research on that company. If they're async, they are screening you for the way you solve problems and how independent you are and how you can use tools. That's the other piece. You can expect your remote work experience to be about some tools, girl. It's what's your collaboration tool? Are you on Teams? Are you on Skype? Or are you on do you use Notion? Do you use, there's all these different kind of ways that you can create that whiteboard experience in a traditional meeting. But they kind of just expect you to know what those are and be ready to use them. So I would definitely look into some of the most popular ones. And then I think the last piece is the leading pioneers right now in terms of global work opportunity for anyone and everyone are still startups. Startups are very willing to make those cultural choices and not be kind of hamstrung to an older way of doing work. But I promise you, they're going to screen you for if you have ever worked in a startup. It is a busy, fast-paced, pivot-heavy environment. So I would definitely be prepared to speak that language as well. I would say those are the biggest barriers.
Thank you. Yeah, what do you think? Is that any different in We Work Remotely, the challenges that talent might face, but is it pretty much the same or any?
No, I think those are super important, especially that last point of just knowing, like Autumn was saying, in terms of remote culture, there's a lot more nuance than there kind of maybe is in what we might think of as traditional office culture. I think even you take the big companies, let's say the FANGs, for example, in tech, and their version of remote is from one to the next completely different. And even within that company, every team has a different version of that. Every team might have a different tool stack even. And so what you're going to find is like the barriers for entry they kind of go up in terms of getting your foot in the door and kind of getting your place and getting through these, whether it's an ATS system or just screening through a recruiter or hiring manager. That process can be it can be long, it can be a little bit more difficult than maybe a traditional interview flow. And in a good way, I think it actually is, it gives us more time to kind of think about how we communicate through that process for candidates as well. I think both sides can benefit. You have to kind of be prepared for a different process. And so one of the big challenges is just being prepared for that process. So kind of being ready to have not only interview prep like you might normally have in that process, but also thinking about answering questions, like Autumn was alluding to, of how to use tools. They might even have you, run tests on, hey, we're going to collaborate in Slack for a week and just see how that goes. Or we're going to bring you into this Notion doc and hey, can you do this practice test or whatever? And so your familiarity and skill set, they're all going to be, challenged a lot faster than, again, in kind of a normal hiring process.
Right. Agustin, is that different in Latin America for us guys that we're in Latam?
No, definitely. I think, in line with what Kevin said and Autumn, two main ones I'd like to mention. Definitely rejection, right? Being, you need to support that. We always, tell our fellows in our programs, failure is part of the process, right? So you're probably gonna get, no response, thank you, but not a good fit, until you get one meeting. Then you don't go to the next interview, but you better prepare for the next stage. Then you go to the technical interview, maybe you don't pass, but you have another one coming and you learn from that until you land the job, right? So it's definitely being prepared to be rejected. And, going back to the numbers, you need to have, you need to be in a good mood to, apply and get, those rejections, but learn from the process until you get to the point you want to get. And the second one, it's probably when it comes to entry-level profiles. So we have all levels of seniority in our program, but we have some entry-level profiles. And getting the first job is really hard. It probably takes 2 or 3 times the effort that it's going to take for anybody with 2 or 3 years of experience to get a new position. So we try to, stay on top of them, coach them and bring them opportunities so they can, pass that first hurdle, which is getting the first job. And once you get it, if you're in IT, you're in programming, you're going to start growing exponentially. So it's really, you need to learn. That's part of the process. And like I said before, failure is just, one step. And if you don't fail, you're gonna not be able to land your job.